I stood at my own wedding reception, tears streaming down my face as my mother-in-law screamed at me to leave. She thought I was just another broke girl who trapped her precious son. But when that private jet landed in the vineyard behind us, her face went completely white. Before we dive into this story, hit that like button if you've ever been underestimated, and subscribe because I share real stories about triumph over adversity. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this ends. You know, they say your wedding day is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. Well, mine started that way. I remember standing in front of that vintage mirror in the bridal suite, adjusting my grandmother's pearl necklace one last time. The dress was perfect, simple, elegant, nothing too flashy. I'd always preferred understated beauty over loud displays of wealth. Maybe that was my first mistake. I met Jonathan in college. We were both business majors, both ambitious, both dreamers. He used to joke that we'd rule the world together someday. What he didn't know was that I was already well on my way. See, while he was studying for his MBA, I was quietly building something extraordinary. Those late nights, he thought I was cramming for exams. I was actually coding, developing, creating what would become a multi-million-dollar tech company. I kept it quiet for a reason. I wanted to know that the people in my life loved me for who I was, not what I had. Jonathan fell in love with the girl who shared pizza in the library and wore thrift store sweaters. He never asked about my family's money, never questioned how I could afford our weekend trips. He just accepted that I was good at managing my finances. Sweet, innocent Jonathan. His mother, Patricia, was a different story entirely. From the moment Jonathan brought me home for dinner junior year, she looked at me like I was a stain on her white tablecloth. Her smile never reached her eyes when she spoke to me. She'd ask pointed questions about my prospects and my family's background. Code words, you know? She thought she was being subtle, but Black women learn to read between those lines early. Jonathan would always defend me afterward, saying his mom just needed time to warm up. 5 years I gave her. 5 years of birthday cards she never acknowledged, Christmas gifts she never thanked me for, and family gatherings where she'd introduce me as Jonathan's friend, even after we got engaged. But I loved Jonathan, and he loved me. That's what mattered, right? The wedding venue was perfect, a small vineyard in Napa Valley, intimate, romantic, surrounded by rolling hills and endless blue sky. I chose it specifically because I thought the beauty of the place would soften everyone's hearts. Maybe Patricia would see how happy her son was and finally accept me into the family. The ceremony itself was magical. Jonathan cried when he saw me walking down the aisle. My father looked so proud in his navy suit, the one he'd bought specially for the occasion. My mother dabbed at her eyes with the handkerchief I'd embroidered for her. For those 30 minutes, everything felt perfect. Even Patricia managed to look pleasant during the vows. It was during the reception that things started to unravel. The cocktail hour began smoothly enough. Guests mingled on the terrace overlooking the vineyards, sipping wine and taking photos. I was floating from group to group, thanking everyone for coming, when I overheard Patricia talking to Jonathan's Aunt Margaret by the bar. I still don't understand what he sees in her, Patricia was saying, her voice just loud enough to carry. She's obviously after his trust fund. These girls, they know how to play the game. Margaret nodded sympathetically. Well, at least he got a prenup, right? That's just it. He refused to get one, said it wasn't romantic. Can you believe it? She's got him completely wrapped around her finger. I felt my stomach drop, but I kept smiling. I'd learned long ago not to react to every slight, every microaggression. Pick your battles, my mother always said. But as the evening wore on, Patricia's comments got bolder. During dinner, she stood up to give what she called an impromptu toast. The microphone squealed as she adjusted it, and the entire reception fell quiet. I want to welcome everyone to this celebration, she began, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Jonathan has always been my special boy, ambitious, hardworking, destined for great things. And now he's found someone who appreciates that about him. The pause was pointed, deliberate. I saw several guests shift uncomfortably in their seats. I just hope, Patricia continued, looking directly at me, that this union is built on genuine love and not other motivations. Because family money, well, that's something that should be earned, not inherited through marriage. The silence that followed was deafening. I felt 200 pairs of eyes on me, waiting for my reaction. Jonathan grabbed my hand under the table, squeezing it tight. I could see the mortification on his face, but he didn't say anything, not one word in my defense. I stood up slowly, my hands trembling slightly. Thank you, Patricia, for those thoughtful words. I think everyone would agree that true love is about accepting someone completely, regardless of their circumstances. It wasn't much, but it was all I could manage without completely losing my composure. The guests applauded politely, and dinner resumed. But the damage was done. The whispers started immediately. As the evening progressed, Patricia's inhibitions disappeared, along with several glasses of champagne. She cornered me by the dessert table, her eyes glassy with alcohol and malice. "You think you're so clever, don't you?" she hissed, swaying slightly, playing the innocent little victim. "But I see right through you. You targeted my son from day one. Patricia, this is neither the time nor the place. Don't you dare patronize me, girl. I know exactly what you are. A gold digger with a pretty face and a sob story. You probably Googled his family before you ever spoke to him." Other guests were starting to notice our heated conversation. I could see phones being discreetly pulled out, cameras pointing in our direction. This was about to become a viral wedding disaster. "You need to calm down," I said firmly, trying to de-escalate the situation. "This is your son's wedding day." "My son's wedding day." Patricia's voice rose to a shriek. "This is a mockery, a joke. You've manipulated him, brainwashed him, and now you think you can just waltz into our family and take everything we've worked for." By now, the entire reception had gone silent. Even the band stopped playing. Jonathan was rushing over, his face pale with horror. "Mom, what are you doing?" he pleaded, reaching for her arm. Patricia shook him off violently. "I'm saving you from the biggest mistake of your life. This woman doesn't love you. She loves your bank account." That's when she turned back to me, her finger pointed like a weapon. "You don't belong here. You don't belong in this family. You need to leave, now." The crowd gasped collectively. Several of my relatives stepped forward, my Uncle Richard looking like he was ready to intervene physically. But I held up a hand to stop him. "Excuse me?" I said, my voice deadly calm. "You heard me. Get out. This is a family celebration, and you are not family. You're just some opportunistic little—" "Patricia!" My voice cut through her tirade like a blade. "I think you've said enough." But she wasn't finished. The alcohol and years of pent-up racism had unleashed something ugly and unstoppable. "I have not said enough. I've been holding my tongue for 5 years, watching you sink your claws deeper and deeper into my son. Well, no more. I'm putting an end to this charade right now. Security." She actually called for security at my own wedding. 2 confused-looking venue staff members approached hesitantly. Patricia pointed at me dramatically. "Remove this woman from the premises immediately. This wedding is over." The audacity of it all hit me like a physical blow. Here I was, in my wedding dress, being ordered to leave my own reception by a woman who had tortured me with subtle racism for years, and was now dropping all pretense. Jonathan finally found his voice. "Mom, stop it. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself." "I'm embarrassing myself. Your wife is the embarrassment. Look around, Jonathan. Look at what she's brought into our family. Drama, conflict, people recording everything for social media. This is what happens when you marry beneath your station." That was the breaking point, not just for me, but for something inside me that had been carefully contained for years. I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" Patricia demanded. "Calling your lawyer, planning to sue us. How typical." I ignored her, dialing a number I knew by heart. The call connected immediately. Marcus, it's me. Yes, I know what day it is. I need you to bring the jet to Napa Valley. The coordinates are, hold on. I walked away from the crowd, speaking quietly into the phone. Yes, the vineyard. There's a field right next to the property. How long? Okay, perfect. When I returned, Patricia was still ranting to anyone who would listen about gold diggers and family values. Jonathan was standing there looking lost and helpless, torn between his wife and his mother. The wedding guests were filming everything. This train wreck of a reception that would probably end up on every social media platform by morning. I walked to the center of the terrace and gently took the microphone from the confused DJ. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. The crowd quieted, everyone eager to see how this drama would unfold. I want to thank you all for being here today to celebrate what was supposed to be the beginning of Jonathan's and my life together. However, it seems there's been some confusion about who I am and why I'm here. Patricia snorted loudly. Oh, here we go. The victim's speech. I continued calmly, my voice carrying across the silent vineyard. Patricia, you've made it very clear that you believe I married your son for his family's money. You think I'm some kind of opportunist who trapped him. Finally, she admits it. Patricia slurred to anyone who would listen. Actually, I said, my voice growing stronger, I think there's something you should know about me. Something I've kept private for a very long time. In the distance, I could hear it. The low rumble of jet engines approaching, right on schedule. You see, Patricia, while I was in college, I started a little tech company. Nothing fancy, just an app I developed to help students manage their finances better. It was simple, user-friendly, something I created because I saw a need. The jet noise was getting louder now. Several guests were looking around, confused by the sound. That little app caught the attention of some investors, then some bigger investors. Before I knew it, we were expanding, developing new products, acquiring other companies. Patricia's confident smirk was starting to falter as the sound of the aircraft grew unmistakable. By the time Jonathan and I graduated, my company was valued at $50 million. Today, it's worth considerably more. The sleek private jet appeared over the ridge, its white body gleaming in the afternoon sun. As it approached the field adjacent to the vineyard, every single person at the reception turned to stare as it executed a perfect landing, its engines winding down as it came to a stop just a few hundred yards away. Patricia's face had gone completely white. Whose plane is that? I smiled for the first time all day, a real smile that reached my eyes. That would be mine, Patricia. Along with the Bentley in the parking garage at home, the penthouse in Manhattan, the house in Martha's Vineyard, and about a dozen other properties I've acquired over the years. The crowd was dead silent, except for the sound of phones recording everything. You see, I never told Jonathan about any of this because I wanted to make sure he loved me for who I was, not what I had. I wanted his family to judge me based on my character, not my bank account. I guess that was naive of me. Patricia opened and closed her mouth like a fish out of water, no words coming out. So when you accuse me of being a gold digger, Patricia, it's particularly ironic, because the truth is, your son is the one who married up, way up. I handed the microphone back to the DJ and walked toward Jonathan, who was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. You own that plane? He whispered. I own 3 planes, actually. This is just the closest one. But why didn't you tell me? I looked at him sadly. This man I'd loved for 5 years, but who had never once stood up for me against his mother's attacks. Because I wanted you to love me for me. But I also needed to know that you would protect me, defend me, stand by me when things got tough. And today, when it mattered most, you didn't. The wedding guests were all pretending not to listen, but hanging on every word. I called the jet because I refused to be disrespected and humiliated at my own wedding by someone who doesn't even know me. I built an empire from nothing, Jonathan. I came from a middle-class family and created wealth that will last generations. And I did it all while being told by people like your mother that I wasn't good enough, smart enough, or worthy enough. Patricia had found her voice again. though it was much smaller now. I didn't know. No, you didn't know. Because you never bothered to get to know me. You saw my skin color and made assumptions. You saw my background and decided I was beneath you. You spent 5 years treating me like an outsider and a threat. I turned to address the crowd one final time. I want everyone here to understand something. Your worth is not determined by other people's ability to see it. I could have told Patricia about my success years ago, could have flashed my wealth to earn her respect. But respect that has to be bought isn't real respect. The jet's crew had lowered the stairs, and I could see Marcus, my pilot, waiting patiently by the aircraft. "Jonathan," I said, looking at my new husband with tears in my eyes, "I love you. I've loved you for 5 years, but I won't spend my marriage being disrespected by your family while you stand by and watch. You have a choice to make." He looked between me and his mother, the weight of the moment crushing down on him. "I choose you," he said suddenly, his voice ringing out clearly. "I choose my wife." He turned to face his mother, his jaw set with determination I'd never seen before. "Mom, you owe Alicia an apology, a real one, in front of everyone here, because what you did tonight was unforgivable." Patricia looked around at the crowd of guests, all watching expectantly, all with their phones still recording. Her social humiliation was complete. I apologize," she said quietly. "Louder," Jonathan demanded. "And mean it." Patricia's voice shook as she spoke. "I apologize, Alicia. I was wrong about you. Completely wrong. I let my prejudices cloud my judgment, and I treated you terribly. You didn't deserve any of it. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start." Jonathan walked over to me and took my hands. "I'm sorry too. I should have defended you years ago. I should have shut down every snide comment, every passive-aggressive dig. I was a coward, and you deserved better. You deserve better than someone who lets their family treat you like garbage," I replied. "Can you promise me that will never happen again?" "I promise. We're a team now. It's us against the world, if it has to be." I looked at the jet waiting in the field, then back at my husband. "Well then, Mr. Harrison, how would you like to start our honeymoon in Paris? I hear the suite at the George V is lovely this time of year." His eyes widened. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. I booked it 3 months ago, just in case we needed a quick escape from wedding drama." The crowd burst into applause and laughter as Jonathan swept me up in his arms, spinning me around in my wedding dress. As we walked toward the jet together, Patricia called out behind us, "Alicia, wait." I turned back, curious. I really am sorry, and I hope you can forgive me someday. I'd like to get to know the real you." I studied her face, looking for sincerity. What I saw was a woman who had been humbled completely, who was facing the reality of potentially losing her son because of her own bigotry. "Patricia," I said finally, "forgiveness is earned, but I'm willing to give you the chance to earn it." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. As Jonathan and I climbed the stairs to the jet, I could hear the wedding guests cheering behind us. My phone was already buzzing with notifications. Apparently, someone had live-streamed the entire confrontation, and it was already going viral. But I didn't care about that. What mattered was that I had stood up for myself, demanded the respect I deserved, and found out that my husband was willing to choose love over family loyalty when it really counted. The jet lifted off smoothly, carrying us away from the drama and toward our future. As we climbed into the sky above Napa Valley, Jonathan turned to me with a look of amazement still on his face. "Is there anything else I should know about you, Mrs. Harrison?" I smiled and settled back into the leather seat. "Well, I did buy you a little wedding gift, nothing too fancy, just a small island in the Caribbean where we can build our dream house." His jaw dropped again, and I couldn't help but laugh. "I'm kidding about the island," I said. "It's actually a vineyard. I thought we might want to host better weddings than the one we just escaped." As we flew toward our new life together, I reflected on everything that had happened. Patricia's racism and cruelty had hurt, but it had also revealed something important about Jonathan's character when push came to shove. And more importantly, it had reminded me of something I'd always known, but sometimes forgot. I don't need anyone's permission to take up space in this world. I built my success from nothing, overcame every obstacle placed in my path, and created wealth that would make Patricia's family money look like pocket change. And I did it all while being told I wasn't good enough. The jet leveled off at cruising altitude, and I closed my eyes, finally allowing myself to relax. Tomorrow we'd be in Paris, starting our honeymoon and our marriage on equal footing. Patricia would have to live with the knowledge that she'd tried to destroy her son's happiness because of her own prejudice, and nearly lost him forever in the process. But today was about more than just my personal victory. It was about every woman who's been told she doesn't belong, every person who's been judged by their appearance rather than their achievements, every dreamer who's been underestimated. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's succeeding so spectacularly that your critics have no choice but to acknowledge your worth. And sometimes, just sometimes, your private jet landing in the middle of your own wedding reception is exactly the kind of dramatic flourish the moment requires. If this story inspired you to never let anyone diminish your worth, smash that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me about a time you proved someone wrong. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of triumph and justice. Remember, your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth.